In this video, I would like to talk about the concept of judicial independence and judicial accountability. Especially whenever we talk about accountability, the reply which we get from the judiciary especially is that, the judicial independence should be protected at any cost, and accountability is, opposite to independence. But let us see what is this concept, and let us, especially after the the allegation of sexual harassment against the former Chief Justice Ranjan Gogoi, this issue of independence and accountability came up in the forefront in a big way. So, in this particular video, I would like to make a distinction between what we understand by judicial independence and what we understand by judicial accountability. So, the heading is judicial independence, judicial independence and judicial accountability. So, this is a very hot topic for the exam because of lot of allegations against the judiciary. Many a times, we are accusing that the judges are not accountable, they are not behaving in an accountable way. So, what is the meaning of independence? First, let me talk about the principles of independence and accountability are many a times regarded as fundamentally opposed to one another. Many people say it is regarded as fundamentally opposed. Regarded as fundamentally opposed to one another, and it is constantly in tension. Constantly in tension. That is the general impression. And in fact, many people even say judicial independence, obviously, judicial independence is an essential pillar of liberty and rule of law. No doubt regarding this. In fact, judicial independence is an essential pillar of liberty. Is an essential pillar of liberty and the rule of law. Is an essential pillar of liberty and rule of law. But many a times the argument in favor of lack of accountability is the independence is a value and it is an end in itself, and secondly they say that any means of accountability directly affects and damages the judicial independence. See, many in judges, even some judges argue that any accountability or any effort to bring accountability, let me put it this way, any effort to bring accountability can directly affect and damage judicial independence, can directly affect and damage judicial independence. This is the argument put forward by many people, but that is not true. That is what I would like to discuss. See, it is both can be there. Independence will be there and accountability will both should be there. Then only the judiciary will function in the best possible manner. So, when we talk about independence, see, independence is a must for rule of law. Judiciary should be able to act independently. Independent of what? Independent of executive, independent of legislature. That is the aim. So, independence is the judicial independence. Now, coming to judicial independence is a bulwark of rule of law, is a bulwark of rule of law, or it is a must in a rule of law. It is the bare minimum expectation in a rule of law. If a law is to be applied equally to all citizens in this country, then it is equally important that the judges should be independent. If we want to implement the law equally to all citizens, judges should be independent and their judicial decisions should be independent. Otherwise, see, if the judges are favoring, if they are favoring only the ruling party or the ruling, the people, we know, then the law cannot be applied equally to all citizens. We know it very well. Many of the judgments these days, we are worried because of that. Because many a times it looks like as if these judgments are in favor of the ruling party only. So judges can be subject to threats and pressures from the litigants, including the society's criminal elements also. Independence of judiciary is a recognized principle adopted by most of the democratic countries in the world. It is a recognized independence of judiciary is a must. It should be understood as independence from executive. That's what I am repeatedly saying. This judicial independence means what? Judicial independence means the independence from executive and legislature and not independence from accountability. Independence from the interference of executive and legislature and not from the accountability, not independence from accountability and not independence from accountability. So, there should be independence from the executive, from the legislature, not from independence from accountability. The spirit of independence has to be captured, or rather, it was said by one of the very famous law expert or a law, we can say a judge in UK called Lord Wolf. Lord Wolf. He said, the independence of judiciary is not the property of the judiciary, but a commodity to be held by the judiciary in trust for the people. So, it is not a property. Independence of judiciary is not a property of judiciary, but a commodity to be held by the judiciary in trust for the public. So, it should be independence from executive and the legislature, not independence from accountability. That is what the meaning of independence. Similarly, when we talk about judicial accountability, what do you mean by that? It is a corollary to the independence of judiciary. Accountability refers to taking responsibilities for your actions and decisions. To take responsibilities for your actions and decisions. To take responsibilities for your actions and decisions. It generally means being responsible to see, when you say accountable, being responsible to an external body. Generally, it means being responsible to an external body. Being responsible to an external body. But in judiciary, they may not be responsible to an external body. It may be accountability to principles and to oneself rather than to an authority outside. See, accountable to the principles of judiciary, and accountable to oneself, accountable to the same person rather than to an external body. So, judicial accountability, taking responsibility for your actions and decisions. In fact, there are three vital benefits of judicial accountability. There are three benefits of judicial accountability. Three benefits. Number one, it promotes the rule of law by deterring the conduct that might compromise judicial independence, integrity and impartiality. It will promote rule of law and prevents or rather it will prevent the judges from compromising judicial independence, integrity and impartiality, or it will protect judicial independence, integrity and impartiality. So, it will promote rule of law and protect judicial independence, integrity and impartiality. Number two, it promotes public confidence in the judges and judiciary. It promotes public confidence. It promotes public confidence in judges and judiciary. And number three, it promotes institutional responsibility by rendering the judiciary responsive to the needs of the public. It serves as a separate branch of the government. So, the institutional judiciary should be separate from executive and the legislature. It promotes the institutional responsibility to become or rather to make judiciary separate from the executive and the legislature, or as a separate organ of the government, a separate branch of the government. So, it will bring in rule of law, judicial accountability will bring in rule of law, it will promote judicial independence, integrity and impartiality, it will promote public confidence in the judiciary, it will promote this institution, judiciary as a separate organ compared to that of the other organs of the government, compared to executive and legislature. So, that is the meaning of judicial accountability. Judicial independence, independent from executive and legislature. Now, in this context, let us have a small analysis of this. First of all, through judicial accountability, we can promote transparency. Transparency will be promoted through the process of judicial accountability. And it is, and in fact, this is very important for the smooth functioning of a democratic setup. For the purpose of judicial independence, as I already mentioned, it is either the judiciaries or the individual judges is never an end in itself. The purpose of independence is never an end in itself. The independence is never an end in itself. Its purpose is always to secure judicial impartiality. Independence is to secure judicial impartiality. To secure judicial impartiality. And impartiality is a central and necessary feature of judicial independence. Judiciary should be impartial. When we go to the court, we should have that full faith that judiciary will give us justice. An impartial judge, we will be very happy to go in front of an impartial judge. The true end of judicial independence is judicial neutrality or impartiality, or the true end of judicial independence. The true end of judicial independence is judicial neutrality. Judges should be neutral. They should be independent. They should not be biased, impartial. maintaining this equilibrium between accountability and independence is a real task, no doubt regarding this. In India, conventionally, we try to bring in that accountability. We have only hard accountability tools in India. So, when it comes to Indian scenario, we only have hard accountability tools. That is, we have a removal process, Judges Inquiry Act, and we know Article 124, 4 and 5. But it's hard because you cannot talk about correcting a judge and all, you can only remove them. There are no, in India right now one big issue is we have no soft accountability processes. We don't have any soft process, meaning softer tools are not available. There is no, in many other in judiciary in US, in UK and all, to tackle, there are some kind of disciplinary action can be taken, some punishment can be given, some fine can be there, judges can be suspended from judicial functioning. But in India, we don't have anything. Either you remove them completely or they will continue with full power. So there is no accountability and these judges also know that they cannot be punished for smaller crime and all. They will be, unless otherwise the whole thing is taken up by the parliament and a judges inquiry is conducted by 3-member judicial committee and then they have to be removed by the parliamentary procedure. They know that sort of thing is not that easy to happen. So one big issue in our country is we have some accountability mechanism in India. That, according to many experts, is a very hard accountability mechanism whereby you can straight away remove the judge. He can be dismissed, but no disciplinary action can be taken. So, but what we need, according to many experts, we need to think about softer tools for judiciary to tackle circumstances that do not warrant impeachment or removal, but at the same time require some kind of disciplinary action. So, soft accountability tools could include warning system tied to regular performance evaluation, where performance evaluation of judges should be there, or a predefined code of conduct that guide the judicial officers should be there. How should they behave in professional and personal life? These things are missing in our Indian system right now. So judicial independence means independence from executive and legislature. It is not independence from accountability. And accountability, what do you mean by accountability? Accountability means taking responsibility of your action and decision, being responsible to the principles of judiciary, or being accountable to oneself and to the principles. And judicial accountability can promote rule of law. It can promote judicial independence, integrity and impartiality of the judges. It will promote the public confidence, and it will also promote judiciary as an independent organ away from the other organs of the government. We need independence, we need accountability. Both are not antithetical to each other, both are not against each other. A proper accountability can promote judicial independence, and we need judiciary which is impartial, which is neutral, which is away from the executives. We want a judiciary who can stand as an impartial organization, which will do justice to all of us. That is where we are talking in terms of this accountability and independence. Okay, so please understand, two things are talking about. We have judicial independence and judicial accountability. Both are not opposite to each other. A proper accountability can actually lead to proper independence, and this independence is not independence from accountability. Independence is from executive and the legislature. So that is the meaning. It is a very hot topic these days. Judges are refusing to be accountable. Judges are trying to say that we are a law unto ourselves. They are also coming under the rule of law. They should be well within the law. Nobody is above law. Even judges are not above law. They should be accountable to their action. And at the same time, they should be independent from executive and legislature. That is the theme. That is what we should be looking forward. So that is the meaning of independence and accountability.